In September 1847, 70-year-old Polly McCall walked out to a chicken coop in Nauvoo, Illinois. She was out there to gather the morning's eggs, reaching her hand into the shadowed straw of a nest. A rattlesnake was hiding in the straw. The bite was fatal, and Polly died in a city that was largely abandoned, passing away just one short month after her husband, Hugh. While the McClellans died in silence, the world around them was defined by a massive exodus. Thousands of their peers were currently kicking up dust on the plains, pushing wagons towards the western horizon. This leaves us with a question. Why were these two elderly Southerners, born before the United States was even a country, left behind to die in a ghost town? Their story highlights a specific, often overlooked group, the Bridge Generation. These were the converts who spent their final years building the foundations of a movement, only to die before the journey west even began. In 1840, Hugh and Polly were in their late 60s, an age when most people in the 19th century were slowing down. Instead, they joined a new faith and moved to the rising settlement of Nauvoo. They left their longtime home in South Carolina, where they had raised 8 children, to start over. In this new community, Hugh's experience was put to use as a high priest. This chart shows the population of Nauvoo during this window. Between 1839 and 1845, the city grew at a rate that dwarfed every other settlement in Illinois as converts arrived from across the Atlantic and the American South. For the McClellans, this move wasn't a casual relocation. It was a commitment to help build a brand new religious and civic society from scratch during the final decade of their lives. By December 1845, that society had reached its spiritual peak with the completion of the Nauvoo Temple. On December 22nd, Hugh and Polly entered the temple together to receive their endowments. They did so under immense pressure. Local tensions had reached a breaking point, and the community was working in frantic shifts to finish the building's interior, even as they prepared for a forced evacuation. For the pioneers, these temple ordinances were the ultimate goal of the Nauvoo years, the sacred milestone they had sacrificed their homes and health to reach. For Hugh and Polly, the mission was complete. They had reached the spiritual summit they moved to Illinois to find, even as their physical health began to fail. As the main body of the pioneers evacuated across the frozen Mississippi in 1846, the elderly McClellans stayed behind, eventually succumbing to the harsh conditions and the accidents of a frontier town. While Hugh and Polly were buried in Illinois, the family legacy they had anchored in their faith began to move westward through the next generation. This map shows their legacy branching out. A line stretches southwest from Nauvoo, tracing relative William Asbury Park's route with the Mormon Battalion. A second branch tracks directly west across the plains to Utah Territory, representing Esther Catherine Park's journey to Kaysville. The McClellan story split in two, one half ending in the quiet graves of the Bridge Generation in Nauvoo, and the other half fueling the expansion and settlement of the West. Today, the thriving towns built by the McClellans' descendants in the West stand in contrast to the often unmarked resting places of Hugh and Polly back in Illinois. We usually tell the story of the pioneers through the survivors, the people who had the youth and strength to endure the 1,000-mile trek. But that focus leaves out the people who gave their final years to the cause, reaching their finish line before the wagons rolled out. Hugh and Polly McClellan represent those who achieved their life's purpose in Nauvoo, knowing they would likely never see what lay beyond the river. The history of the American West is a story of arrivals and new beginnings, but it is also a story of the quiet sacrifices made by those who stayed behind.